Do you find yourself in situations where you worry about what people think of you, what other people are saying about you, how they experience you? If you do, then it's possible you may be a people pleaser. This is a vicious cycle that we go through that is very exhausting, that is a cycle of serving others. And I'm very sure that it's zapping your energy. So if you find that you care about what people think about you, how they're experiencing you, what they're saying about you, if you're nodding your head right now as you watch me on this screen, I know it's probably a very sneaky habit that's been costing you your happiness. So today you're really going to love this, because what I want to do is be able to teach you and give you 4 awesome, killer, subtle ways to reframe and change your experience if you feel like you are a people pleaser, and we want to be able to stop that cycle. And hopefully we can stop that today. So that being said, the purpose of this journey is to move away and disconnect from our conscious and unconscious survival strategies that we built as children. It's really stepping into your soul's best interest. It's to really become more empowered of your conscious self. Ultimately, we break relationship patterns and we manifest a conscious relationship by the act of self-love and the act of self-introspection and self-love principles. So through this live, some things may come up for you, right? You may feel some guilt or shame, or you may feel some self-punishment come in. You may learn something new about yourself, maybe behavior that you've been perpetuating. And so sometimes we have these feelings of guilt. So we want to get to a point where we want to stop the people-pleasing cycle. And we do that by knowing that it's safe to say no, to respect that answer. It's your time to fill in your energy, to make yourself a priority, maybe for the first time ever. To say no, to be able to make room for the yeses. Raise your standards, and so that you won't tolerate low accountability behavior. That's what we want, ultimately. So we want to be able to live a life that's in alignment, that is within your fullest joy. And we do that by getting rid of these subconscious behaviors that we built. So people pleasing is one of those subconscious behaviors that we built as a kid that now is manifesting as an adult as a belief going forward. We want to be able to better communicate with people that you love and honor your loving, healthy boundaries so that we can create more room for something else. So let's just get right into it, okay? So people pleasing is a big one for a lot of people. It can feel very exhausting, right? It can feel like it zaps your joy completely. And so there are a lot of learned behaviors that we learned as a kid so that we can learn to receive love from a parent. And so, or a primary caregiver. So we would often say yes and we behave in a certain way. And so what we do is we take those and we bring them into adulthood. And oftentimes when it wasn't met, if we didn't meet that expectation, it was met with criticism, and often we would develop these defense mechanisms because oftentimes love was withheld when we didn't say yes to that. So we developed a subconscious belief that when we don't get if we don't give what somebody else wants, then we won't receive love. It's mind-blowing, right? And so what we needed was always this constant encouragement and support and saying, being a good girl or a good boy. And so all of these things are these subconscious behaviors. Hey guys, just wanted to say hi to everybody. So today I'm talking about people pleasing. So what happens is we get into situations where we fear judgment from others, we fear rejection, we have fears of abandonment, we worry about what other people think and say. We stress out when we want to say no. And so again, like this is or we think that we're coming off as being mean, right? And so we always make it about ourselves. We have this great talent of making everything about ourselves. We crave this approval from others, right? And so we want to say yes. And then what happens is we get stuck into relationships where we give more than we receive. And then when it all ends, for example, at some point in time, is that we say things to ourselves, I gave it all and I got nothing in return. So that's some of the inner dialogue that you have, and sometimes you even say it to your friends, right? Or your loved ones. And so often what we do is we neglect our own needs. And when we neglect our own needs, we feel burnt out, all right? We're exhausted. We often want to give up, disconnect. We don't want to get into a relationship anymore, or we want to disconnect from that other person or family member and all of that stuff. So this is kind of how it all manifests. So if any of this sounds familiar, type in a Y. There's no judgment here, that's for sure. And this is where we give ourselves love and compassion, because this is not how you mean to show up. It's just a pattern it's a code that was embedded into your psyche growing up, like I said before, that now becomes your regular operating system. It becomes just the way that you behave. Sometimes you say yes, and then an hour later you're like, I don't know why I said yes to that. I don't understand that. So stay with me, because I've got four kick-ass things, reframes and stuff that can help you to learn a new behavior. Okay. So because it's a learned behavior, and it's really learned up to the age of 7. Like apparently up to the age of 7, you've learned this self-defense mechanism to how to receive love and acceptance from others around you. So basically what you're doing is you're taking the programming, the code that was put into your mind, into your brain at the age of 7, and now you're using it at the age of 17, 27, 37, 47, and so on, until you don't. So what this really means is that this current code was developed as a child. So there is actually a child inside of you that's subconsciously steering your ship. Can you imagine going sailing in a boat and having a 6-year-old steer the boat? I don't know. Do you steer boats like this anymore? I think that's from the movies. I guess maybe for sailboats. So I'll give you a really good example that may or may not resonate with you. So when I was 5 years of age, I remember having to go to a school trip, and I remember feeling this need to get to this school trip, and I was so excited about it. And I have this memory, and it's ingrained in my mind, and it only came up through a lot of self work that I went through, some inner child work that I did, where I felt like I was walking to kindergarten. It was kindergarten. I guess at 5 it would be, or 4 or 5. And I remember arriving for a school trip. And when I got there, the person in charge, the adult, said to me, oh, the bus already left. And I remember feeling devastated. Like I felt, can you imagine a 5-year-old that was really excited about the school trip and says, oh, the school bus already left. So you're not in class, I guess, or whatever. And I remember feeling devastated going back. You can imagine a 5-year-old. I'm pretty sure I was crying, because I really have, that memory really came up for me. And so what I did was I ingrained that memory subconsciously at a program that if I'm late for anything, I'm gonna lose out. And so up until this day, as an adult, I don't like when people are late. I make sure I actually feel the same stress wanting to be on time for something. And so what I did is I built this subconscious program that in order for me to experience something, or in order for me to make sure that I'm fulfilled, or etc., I built this subconscious program into my mind that I need to be on time for everything, otherwise there are repercussions. Now that example may not necessarily be in alignment with people pleasing, but that is a testament to subconscious programming as we take into adulthood. Okay, and I'm sure there's a people pleasing somewhere in there, right? Like I need to be on time, because if I'm not on time, people may judge me as not respecting their time. You see how that works? It's all, the mind is kind of this crazy thing, right? So the good news is that we can consciously change that. And the only way we can consciously change that is through the awareness. And that's how I begin to reprogram my subconscious mind, is once I was aware of that, I'm still on time because I like to respect people's time, but I don't make it a reflection of who I am and my value if I'm a little bit late. Now, as some of you know, I live in Costa Rica and late is a thing, or not being on time is a thing. But I tend to still have that practice only because I like to respect people's time and I don't see it as a reflection of me. So that's a great point. So you might have some memories in your mind where you can start to formulate some awareness. Okay? So the seeking of approval outside of us is where the journey of people pleasing stops. The moment that you love yourself, no matter what others think or say, and where you don't look for others outside of you make you happy, or you don't seek approval from others, or how you spend your time, is where the empowering choices come in. And thanks, man. I was thinking about Costa Rica. Yeah, exactly. It was like how the universe brings you to a place in order for you to transcend your deepest wounds. Well, coming to a country where being on time per se, or being fashionably late, is definitely a fashion. So this is the universe, right? And kind of brings you to a place where it pokes and all that. If it would have been too easy if I went to Switzerland, where everyone is apparently on time. I don't know if that's even true. I think that's a rumor. Okay, so people pleasing, again, not knowing, I promise I'm going to get to the 4, okay? I promise. When your opinion of somebody else, when somebody else's opinion of you doesn't matter anymore, that's when you stop trying to please people. Because you're always going to say yes to something, right? So if you're seeking love and acceptance outside of yourself, then it's going to rob you of your current experience. Your current experience, as well as how it's going to reflect in your intimate relationships. So I've got 4 rules today, 4, that are going to help, that are really going to help. Instantly improve your relationships with people around the people you love. If you're in a relationship, you're not in a relationship, it is absolutely irrelevant. So it's going to, and if you are not in a relationship, it's okay. It's going to prepare you for the manifestation genius that you have inside of you and prepare you for the next relationship. Okay? So 1, simplistic, very easy. You have a choice. A lot of us forget that we have a choice. And it may seem very simple, but we do have a choice to be able to stop pleasing people and saying yes all the time, or saying yes when it doesn't make any sense. So if you feel, so this is where we have a loving choice to be able to make the changes that we want to change. Because a lot of us believe that just because we've done things a certain way, we don't have a choice to change things to be able to create something very differently. So that we have more loving choices, we can make more loving choices in our relationships. Okay? So to ask yourself, will it matter that much to the people around me if I say no? If they truly love me, will saying no to something really matter to everyone? Because you saying no to something may not matter to everyone, because a lot of people pleasers have this thing as everyone is going to think that, with a capital E. Everyone is going to think the following. Fill in the blanks. So challenge yourself. Is it actually everyone, or is it going to only affect one person that oftentimes is benefiting from you saying yes all the time, and is potentially taking advantage of your people-pleasing skills that you've developed, right? And so healthy relationships are give and take. There's no arguing that, right? It's about giving and taking. They're built on compassion, respect, acceptance, all of that stuff. And so the moment that we build healthy boundaries around that, and that's another great topic that's probably for another live, is where we can, is the line where differentiates between us and them. So having a choice and having healthy boundaries is another one I added into number one on the fly. Is the empowering choice that we have. It's a different choice. Okay, so that's number one. Which leads me to what I said, number two, boundaries. The one thing that's very difficult for people that are subconsciously people-pleasing is to put healthy boundaries. So what are healthy boundaries? Healthy boundaries separates you from them. They're like the bouncer at a club back in the day, because apparently clubs are not operational now. You know, the big guy that's at the door, he allows the good vibes in and keeps the bad vibes out. Or sometimes the cool people come in, the cool people are out. Either way, boundaries limit access to you. They limit access to your life and your existence. So someone that is selfish, someone that is only looking out for them, will benefit from a people pleaser because they know they're going to say yes, or they will be easily be able to guilt you into something. Okay, so that's very important to keep that. And so boundaries can feel very unfamiliar to people pleasers, even at a very small level. Even if you don't define yourself as a people pleaser, you'll often do things just for the sake of, wanting to be okay with that person. And it's oftentimes, sometimes you can do that. But what's important is that you don't step on yourself and you step on your own boundaries that you've set, because the self-love, the empowerment, is not in the person liking the fact that you put the boundary in place. The love and acceptance and the self-love is you actually communicating that boundary. How they respond is irrelevant. Doesn't matter how they respond. If they don't like it, it's not your problem. It's not your job to please other people. Your job, whatever you want to call it, is to feel the empowerment through choice and through behaviors in which are in alignment and actions that are in alignment with your own well-being. Why is that important? Because if you're in alignment with the way your behaviors are and you feel comfortable with saying no and you're not so hard on yourself, then you're able to show up into relationships as an empowered person, as an empowered human being. And so when somebody says no to you, you can respect that and meet them with love and compassion and understand where they're coming from and understand, hey, they're setting a boundary. And me as a conscious partner, and this, remember, we're building tools for self-love so that we can manifest and be in a conscious relationship, right? So when that person says no, it's okay. It feels good because we're able to honor that boundary and they can honor our boundaries. Okay? Is this making sense? Is this making sense? So number two, we've got choice. 2, boundaries. So here's a couple things to know if boundaries are cool for you, right? So when somebody asks you to do something, ask yourself, does this feel expansive? Does it feel good? Can I go into my body? How does this feel in my body? We want to go back to our body, not just what our mind wants to do. Okay, remember, the subconscious mind is creating all this stuff, right? And so as we go through this journey of breaking those patterns, we can make more loving choices, okay, that are in alignment. So if it's a hell yes, then it's a yes. If it's a hell no, then it's a no. It's a very, very clear way to say that. And so, remember, if it's met with resistance from the other person, if the other person meets it with guilt and shame, trying to shame you, trying to guilt you, oh sure, when I blah blah blah, or etc. etc. Sometimes it takes losing something or someone that we are settling for in order to remember what we are deserving of. I'm not going to repeat that because I'm not sure if I'm going to get it right again. But basically it means is that if they're meeting it with resistance and shame and that type of energy, then they're not worth keeping around. And this could be for people that are in relationship, and it's okay. And if you've been in past relationships and you maybe have some leftover emotions from that relationship, then this is a great way to tap into that and say, hey, I needed to lose that in order for me to remember what I was deserving of. Okay? Okay, cool. That's 2. Number 3, hope that made sense. So number 3, be your own best friend or cheerleader. And let me get into that. Oftentimes, people pleasers will feed off of the praise of others. So someone will ask us of something, will ask us to do something, will ask us to maybe even feel a certain way, which is kind of narcissistic. But the reality is nobody's going to come and save you. This is where it's at. Nobody's coming to save you. You'll always feel chained up and as a prisoner if you continue and expect others or your partner, or if you expected your past partners to do that, or you're expecting your future partners to do that, to be your cheerleader all of the time. Not going to happen. Most people are trying to figure out their own shit while they're in a relationship and navigating that ship we were talking about, and having an adult navigate the new ship. So someone to be your cheerleader all the time is unrealistic. You'll be basically bending over to whatever it is that they want. And so you notice how you walk into a room and people tend to gravitate to other people, right? People tend to, you walk into a room and it's like someone's very magnetic. Someone's very energy, like I just want to be around them. What's going on over there? And so often what happens is you immediately are drawn to someone, right? There's a very good chance that person has in fact developed the art, which is this one, as being their own cheerleader, right? They love themselves enough that people can feel it, people can see it, people can see that type of energy. They can, if they can't see it with their eyes, they can definitely see it with the other parts of themselves. You know, people pleasing is very uncomfortable. You know, actually, just this morning I sent a what's up message, which I'm trying to move away from for various reasons. And I remember actually writing, man, my voice is sexy. It was an audio message. And it was kind of funny because I was like, I kind of never really noticed that. But it was a very subconscious way for me to send that program to myself and self-cheerlead to myself. This kind of stuff, self-cheerleading, is very difficult for a lot of us. It doesn't come natural, right? Nobody wants to cheer themselves. We're not taught to cheer themselves. It's like socially kind of like, oh, he's so, what's that word? Help me out here he's so conceited because he's saying good things about themselves. He's so arrogant. And it's interesting how we tie in those words and then we code them into our existence, into our subconscious. Oh, don't pump yourself up too much. And then we expect others outside of us to give us that, to pump us up. And then we use things like, oh, my love language is, I don't know, one of them I think is called words of affirmation or something like that, which I get that. And you can feel that you want that. But the reality is you need to be your own cheerleader as well. Because like I said earlier, just a few minutes ago, is the other person cannot be there for you and be your cheerleader all of the time because they're too busy figuring their shit out, right? So what does that look like? I know for a lot of people pleasers it's very difficult, but it's affirmations. Affirmations are very powerful. You can list things of accomplishment in the last month, in the last week, in the last day. Some of you may have started a new business and you've incorporated it. Does that sound familiar to anyone? That's a way to build an affirmation. Maybe you've realigned yourself. Maybe you've left a relationship that, even though now sounds very painful, you've realized that, hey, I made a decision for myself. Or it can be very simplistic as just doing a very simple list of affirmations. You can find them anywhere on Google if you want. Also, if you want to list, actually just send me a note saying, or a message through Instagram, or go to MikeFinelli.com. I'm happy to send you my affirmation list. I'm pretty sure I've developed a PDF list somewhere for my previous or future courses. So I'm happy to share that with you on a list of daily affirmations you can do. You can't really see my mirror. It's kind of, I think it's up. Ah, you see that? That's like my mirror right there. And I have an affirmation there that I do every morning. So, yeah, thanks for that. Also a yes on the ended relationship. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's 3. Okay, I've got one more. And then I'm ready to wrap this baby up. Okay. Number 4, how to stop people pleasing so you can love yourself more. Stop apologizing. Not because you're Canadian like me, where it's built into your DNA to say sorry or start sentences with sorry. But what I mean is saying sorry to something that you shouldn't be sorry about. Sorry for being late. Okay? Sure. I think there's some things out there where people are saying you should say sorry for not respecting people's time. But saying sorry for leaving long messages. Saying sorry for things that are not, that are out of guilt. Saying sorry for things that are not really your fault. Because we oftentimes want to say sorry to end an uncomfortable conversation. So some of the questions to ask you is next time you catch yourself saying sorry. Guys, this sounds really simple, but we do it all the time. Like, think about that. Okay? We really want to ask ourselves, is it really true? Do I really need to be sorry about something? Is there something that I did that was actually my fault? Or is it a subconscious pattern where I've maybe said sorry in previous relationship or as a child, so I would, again, get out of an uncomfortable conversation or just to make someone else feel better? But in fact, when you tune in, you say, well, you know what? I don't really feel sorry for my behavior. It's just because the other person's not feeling, energetically feeling well or was not in alignment with that. Then it's okay to say sorry. We are not obligated to do any of that. Because ultimately not saying sorry, meaning that you're meeting yourself with respect and love. Now, I should say a caveat, right? Obviously certain types of behavior need an apology, right? Let's face that. If you're a jerk, you need to say sorry. But I mean sorry from a point of a point of where you're actually trying to please the other person and self-abandon in the process. Because saying sorry for something you're not going to take responsibility for, or you're only saying because you want to please them, or you want their love, or you want their acceptance, is a very, very serious form of self-abandonment and self-betrayal. And we do that all the time, especially in relationship, where we say sorry, but sometimes we don't think about the fact that the actions that we may have taken in the past is not something that we're apologetic about. And again, if we were an asshole, then I think you need to tune in and you'll know whether you need to say sorry or not for something. Okay. Again, it sounds very simplistic. So that's the 4th one. And I think it's important to, again, so I'll give you an example of not saying sorry. Just recently, I had a conference call with a friend that I reconnected for a while. Make a long story short, they try to sell me an MLM thing, okay, multi-level marketing thing, which they're very passionate about. And I gave her 10 minutes of my undivided attention. And so instead of saying, sorry, I'm not interested, I was very conscious in saying and being assertive. Now, what does assertive mean? Not being, I wasn't being mean, or I wasn't, trying to hurt their feelings or anything like that. But I was assertive and say, no, that actually is not in alignment with me right now. And that was the end of the conversation, because I have other things going on. In case you haven't noticed, this is my mission. And so this is where we begin to regain our power, to be able to say no to something that that is not in alignment, without the need of feelings of saying sorry, just as a way to be able to compensate and not make them feel bad. That's a way that we people please. So other ways are, you can say, I can't make it to the meeting. No, that doesn't feel expansive. That's not in alignment with my goals for 2021. It's not a part of my vision. Or even if you're in a relationship, you can say no to a lot of things. So when you say no, it opens up opportunities for the yeses. Okay, so those were the 4 ways for people pleasing. So I'll recap them. Choice, boundaries, be your own best cheerleader. And of course, the last one was to stop saying sorry for something shouldn't be sorry about. So that was a mouthful, and that was 30 minutes in. I'm so grateful for your patience. Please like, share. If you have any comments, please feel free to do that. I'm going to be posting this on my YouTube channel. If you don't know what my website is, it's mikefinelli.com, where you get links to my YouTube channel as well. So if this resonates with you, you can make comments even right now. We're not done yet. We're going to be finishing in a minute. Have you been people pleasing and sometimes feel guilty about it? And how have you done that? And so which one of these 4 is easy for you to implement? What is easier for you? That you have a choice? Is it putting in a boundary? Is it cheerleading yourself? Or just stop saying sorry when you don't need to? Because one of these 4 are going to help you along on this self-love journey. And why? Because it's going to make you a better human. It's going to make you a better person coming into a relationship, knowing exactly where you are and getting away from your subconscious patterns that you built. So that being said, thank you very much for your time. I'm very appreciative. And we'll see you on the next one. Have an awesome day.